Okay, so VIDA series. VIDA stands for Versatile Installation Digital Amplifier. Okay, and we are gonna view a general view of the product and some highlights, the main highlights, and then we will make an example. Let me reduce me so there's enough place for the presentation. That's more important than me. Okay. VIDA series. VIDA series have now we have one model. They are coming more later in the year. Okay, but we have VIDA-24Q. Okay, VIDA-24Q and the other ones as well will have 4 analog inputs, 4 amplified outputs, 2 auxiliary outputs at line level, and 4 Dante transmitters and receivers. Okay. We have we have a web application to configure VIDA series, but if you don't have the device, which is this web application is embedded in there, you have a demonstration at vida.ecler.com. It's now available. You can get inside and check whatever you need. Okay. And we'll make this presentation. We will take advantage of this simulator, and we'll make it there as well. Okay. Okay. I will name the main highlights, and then we will go through them a little bit in detail. Okay. Main highlights. There are many highlights, and we have some little discussion inside. Because we wanted to keep it as main 5 points, and we finally chose these ones. The first one would be smart VersaPower and VersaPower itself, and the high efficiency and low energy consumption, the events that are available in this product, and the player which is integrated in this product, and the adaptable user control panels and that serves to clients. Okay. Let's go through VersaPower. Okay. We usually have power amps of symmetric power. That is that we have the same amount of power in each and every channel. Okay. This is the usual thing. With VersaPower is a technology developed by Ecler that allows asymmetric distribution of power. Okay, so in this case, for example, we have 1200 watts in the second channel, and in the other ones we have the rest. Okay. Smart VersaPower is the tool that helps you to distribute this power how you would like. Okay, is the tool that is integrated in the web application. So you can say, okay, I want 800 watts in the second channel and in the fourth channel at maximum. High efficiency and low energy consumption. Okay. To achieve high efficiency, we have designed a Class D amplifier. Okay, and power supply. And that is power factor corrected, so we can achieve efficiency of more than 90%. Okay, for low consumption, we try to keep the consumption into the minimum when the device is not active. So we can adjust auto standby per channel, not only level but also in time. We can decide when it will get into standby. And as well, we have the sleep mode. The sleep mode is the mode that when the 4 channels are in standby mode, then the whole device gets into sleep mode. That it's a very low power consumption, less than 5 watts. Let's talk about the player. We have an integrated player, okay? And you in the software you have the usual tools, okay? Play, pause, forward, and what you would expect with any player, okay? But you can also manage the files of the SD card. that we have in the back of the panel. We will see later on the SD slot. Okay, so we can from the web server, from the web application that you would get with a browser, you can upload files or upload a whole folder or just delete some files, so you can manage all the files in there. You don't have to take out the SD card. You can also create the playlist in there from the web browser. Events. We have a wide variety of events available for program automations, just to have an analog remote or to make something happen when a contact closure is active. So, and one of the things we have improved a lot is the calendar. So we have a lot more flexibility, and we have daily or weekly, monthly, or even yearly repetitions that make a lot of flexibility to program and schedule events. Okay, one of the things we learned from the past, we have a metrics called HAP, and people was quite happy about how fast and how easy it was to create pilot panels, that are the panels that the user had in that device. So we got that philosophy into VIDA, okay? And you can make an output control panel in even 20 seconds. I timed myself, and it was about 20 seconds, okay? You can have public or assigned control panels assigned to concrete users with a username and a password. And from one smartphone or whatever, or an iPad or whatever you have, you can control one or several signals and one or several VIDA amplifiers. So with one control, for example, here you have this one of all zones, and this slider can be assigned to several outputs of several amplifiers that you have in the same network, okay? The user can control volume, source selection, and graphic EQ, okay? Here we have volume, selection, and graphic EQ. These are the main controls you can give to the user, but also you can give the player to manage, or you can allow him to load presets in the device, okay? As said, these control panels can be used from the browser or an application which goes under iOS or Android. So let's see the audio chain and the connections of these devices. We have 4 analog inputs, 4 digital inputs. When I say digital, I mean Dante inputs or Dante receivers, let's say. We have a player and we have a generator. All these inputs can be processed except the generator and are assigned into 4 sources. We have 4 stereo sources that have got a primary input and a secondary one, okay? The primary input is the main one, and the secondary one can be, we can work with it as a priority input or as a backup. We will see later on what this means. After we have assigned the inputs to the sources, we have a matrix, okay? A matrix of 4 inputs and 6 outputs, okay? These outputs are processed, and 4 of them go to the amplifier modules, okay? And we have 4 amplified outputs, and 2 of them are 2 auxiliary outputs at line level. So it's not amplified, it's at line level, and they can be used to feed another amplifier or whatever you want. Regarding the Dante transmitters, the digital outputs, okay, we can make a replica of some of the signals we have in the device already, okay? So we cannot create a independent mix, but can be some of the mixes we have in the device. We will see also later on a little bit in detail. Sorry. Connections. If we get into the connections in the back, we have 4 analog inputs, the SD slot for the SD card for the player to read all the files. And in net 2 port, we have the Dante receivers, okay? An Ethernet connection with the Dante receivers. If we talk about outputs, we have the 2 auxiliary outputs we already set. The net 2 port also has the transmitters of Dante, okay? The whole Dante goes on net 2 port. And we have the 4 amplified outputs, okay? Here we see 1, there are 3 more on the left side. And we have some switches because one thing that is also important is that VIDA series can work at high impedance or low impedance, okay? High impedance 100 volt lines or 70 volt lines, and low impedance with 8, 4, or 2 ohm. You select independently each line how it works. So you can have, if we zoom in into this, you can have, in this case, for example, are all the outputs at high impedance 100 volts, okay? But we can change, and we can change output 2 to work at 8 ohm or 4 ohm or 2 ohm. So you can work like this. If we talk about control ports, okay, we have an external mute to connect maybe an alarm system or whatever is needed that has to make a mute to the power amplifier. We have the GPIs where we can connect, for example, a remote or any contact closure. And we have GPOs as well. Through the Ethernet ports, we can get the web application from a browser or a PC connected to the network, and we can control also via TPNet protocol, which is our own protocol. We can control this device from third-party brands like, I don't know, Preston, Extron, whatever, okay? Okay, let's go a little bit, let's have a look into the applications, okay? If you want, you can get into vida.ecler.com if you have 2 screens, and you can just follow my explanation, or maybe in the example, you can just follow as well. Okay, this is the aspect when you get in. You have a top bar and you have a left side menu, okay? If we go to the status, which is the main screen for seeing what is happening, we have this is like a replica of what we have in the front panel of the device, okay? The same LEDs and the same controls, okay? And here we have information of the GPIs in the GPIs. If you get into the simulator, you may notice that there are a few other things, because as long as it is a simulator, you don't have the impedance switches. So in the simulator, you will see that here you can choose the impedance, but that is only in the simulator. In real life, in the device, you cannot change by software what is already set up in the back switches, okay? Because that's for security reasons. Okay, if you click in the arrow, you will see more information about the network or the firmware, or you can just switch off the unit and put it in standby, in sleep mode. Okay. Also in the status screen, you will be able to select the different signals and see whatever is happening to sources or amplified. You have two carousels, so you can see what's happening in each and every signal. Okay, let's cover the audio. I do not want to get into very much into this, but let's cover very fast. And I will cover the other way around, from the outputs to the inputs, because it's I think it's a better way of understanding how it works. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the outputs. Okay. As said, 4 amplified outputs, 2 auxiliary outputs, and 4 digital outputs, the Dante transmitters. Okay. If you get into I/O setup, amplified and auxiliary output setup, you will find all the information of each and every amplifier module. Okay. Here you have the several parameters, and you will notice that the gain, you can change the gain if Smart Versa Power is not active. If Smart Versa Power is active, you will see this disabled, okay? Because it will be Smart Versa Power, the tool that will assign the gain to each and every channel, okay? You have a high-pass filter as well. These high-pass filters can be set up to these frequencies. If you have a high impedance line, then it's a must. You cannot disable it. Okay, look, amplifier. Okay, let's see the amplifier, Versa Power and Smart Versa Power. Okay. By default, you will find that the device, the 24Q in this case, it's set up at symmetrically at 600 watts per channel, okay? But you can decide whatever you want. And for this, we have Smart Versa Power, okay? Smart Versa Power, you will assign the maximum RMS power to each and every output. So in this case, we have this, for example, in the first channel, we have 200 watts, okay? That would be the maximum RMS power in this channel, okay? The gain will be automatically adjusted, and you will be able to adjust the sensitivity into minus or plus 6 dBs. The maximum power, the maximum peak power, sorry, will be twice the maximum RMS power. So you multiply by 2, okay? Except in the limits. What does it mean that? So here, for example, in this configuration, you see that we have the RMS is 200 and we have doubled the maximum peak power, okay? The same in the other channels. But what happened here? We have at 8 ohm, 1400 watts as maximum power, and the peak power is the same because we are in the limit. So we're in the limit per channel. That means, and these are the limits per channel. So we can have a channel 100-volt line with one channel at 2400 watts, which is the maximum for the 24Q. Okay, so you have no more power to assign to the other channels. Or you can have maybe one channel at 8 ohm of 1400 watts, and you will have 1000 watts extra watts for other channels. Okay, but that's the maximum per channel. Okay, Versa Power. We have different distribution to several channels, but Versa Power allows you, depending on the parameters you have configured, You can even give 2400 watts to one channel. That can be dangerous, okay? So that's why we have smart VESA power that protects the loudspeaker. So you assign a maximum RMS power and a peak power that cannot be exceeded, okay? So we are safe if we use smart VESA power. On the other way around, we can just set up a limiter before getting into the amplifier module and just limiting the input signal to the amplifier module, a regular limiter, okay? Let's see output processing. Okay, if we go to the processing menu here, outputs processing, we have three modules, okay? Delay, parametric EQs, and limiters, okay? And we have for these modules for the 4 amplified outputs and for the two auxiliary ones, okay? But the auxiliary ones, as they do not have an amplifier module, there is no limiter, okay, in there, just a delay and parametric EQ. Let's see what we have in each module, okay? Delay can be adjusted from 0 to 1 millisecond in high resolution steps, or we can decide to have between 0 and 1 second in 1 millisecond steps, okay? We can choose the units between milliseconds and meters. Very easy, that one, okay? We have the filters, okay? We have 8 parametric filters and 1 high-pass filter and 1 low-pass filter. We see it, we can have it here, 8 parametric EQs and the high-pass filter and the low-pass filter, okay? We have a settings library. This library will be growing as at the same rhythm as we launch new loudspeakers, okay? And here we will have the parameters of the filter that we have chosen here. So here it's number 2, so it's filter 2, and we have the frequency, the gain, and the Q. You are able also to change it just graphically from the graph directly. Output processing, the limiters. This is the last module, okay? We have the limiter and we just assign a threshold and we can have the time parameters like attack and release, or we can have it in automatically adjusted, okay? Sorry for that. We have the limiters. Here we set up the settings, the adjustments. Here we see this channel and here we see all 4 channels, so we can just be aware of what is happening in each channel. We also have a graphic EQ, okay? Why a graphic EQ? Because it's an easy tool for a user to set up, and they are familiar with it. So it can be used by the installer, but it was pretended to be used for a tool for some users, some advanced users, let's say, that want this kind of tool. Okay, we have an 8-band graphic EQ that can be adjusted, and we have 14 predefined settings. Okay, so they can use it if they to fit their taste. Okay, but they can adjust manually as well. You will find it here. Okay, so and here are the settings. Routing. Okay, let me have some water. We have here in the routing menu, we have 3 tabs: mixer matrix, zoner, and digital. Let's see what are these sections. Okay. There are two modes, mixer matrix. Okay. Mixer matrix is the first mode. Okay. And allows mixing several sources to one output. And we have two views in this mode, the view mixer and the view matrix. Okay. And this applies to the amplified outputs and the auxiliary outputs. Okay. These two views, you see the mixer view and the matrix view. Okay, which one do you prefer? They are, we will see later on, they have more or less the same information. Okay, and the second mode is the zoner mode. Zoner mode means that you can just choose one source to each output. So here you have a combo and you decide what source is assigned to each and every output. Okay. These can be applied to the amplified outputs and the auxiliary outputs if you want. And in the case of the digital output, it's always in zoner mode. So as we said, as we have seen in the diagram, we cannot create an independent mix in the digital outputs. You just have to choose one of the signals you already have in the device. Let's see. For example, here, if you click on the amp and aux setup, okay, here the first in the first window, you can see the mixer and for the amplified outputs and the zoner for the auxiliary ones. Okay, we have set up the routing mode like this. So in the amplified outputs, one thing, and in the auxiliary ones, the other thing. Okay, if we then click on routing mixer matrix, we can see the view mode. And here, as we are in mixer matrix, we see only the amplified outputs because the auxiliary ones are in zoner mode. Okay, so we have, for example, if we click on here, that is what is selected, we see that we have -8 dBs here, which is the same value that we can see here. Okay, and we have control of the source and the amplified output. If we change the view mode, okay, then we have here the same information. We have -8. These are the cross points, let's say. We have -8 between source 1 and the amplified output that is 1. That is the one that is selected in this view. So here we have the same information. Two signals that are sent to amplified output 1. Okay, here are these two signals that are in amplified output 1. If we click on amplified output 2, we will see the mix for the second channel. Okay. What about zoner mode? In zoner mode, we have only, in this case, the auxiliary outputs. Okay, and here we will choose which source is chosen for each output. And in digital mode, as we said, they're always like zoner. So we choose here which input. We'll cover this later on when we see Dante. Okay. Sources. We have 4 sources, as said, 4 stereo sources. Okay, you can find it here. I.O. setup, sources, and here you have the main parameters, the label, what input is assigned to this source, okay, and the user range for just limiting the user going to the maximum or the minimum. And we have also, when we have seen when I was talking about the diagram, I said there is a secondary input, okay, which can work into priority or backup. Okay, let's think about the backup. We switch it on, okay, and then here is configured in backup mode, and here we will see the one of priority. Let's go for the one of backup mode. Okay, here the secondary input is a player, but we can choose whatever we want in the list, whatever we want of input. And here we set up the threshold, okay? Here minus 40 dBs, for example. That's the primary threshold. This means that when the primary input goes below this threshold during 30 seconds in this case, then the source will swap to the secondary input. So, for example, let's think that here there's a streaming. If the internet connection is lost and you have for 30 seconds nothing comes into the analog input 1, then it will swap into the player. And that's why it's called as a backup mode, okay? If we think about priority mode, okay, here the threshold is for the secondary input. So in this case, we have something in analog input 1, okay, and the secondary input is the digital input 1. So whenever digital input 1 goes over this minus 40 dBs, then for more than 1 second in this case, then it will override the analog input 3. So digital input will be the signal that is giving source 3 to the matrix, okay? Sources are always stereo. So a stereo input, we can assign a stereo input, is routed to one source. And a source can be routed to a mono or to a stereo input. So what we have to be clear is that you don't have to do anything strange, or you don't have to think, let's say. VIDA manage the signals in a way that you would expect. So you just have to say, okay, this output is stereo and this input is stereo, and you forget about this because VIDA will do the rest. Inputs processing. Okay, I will not spend time here because it is exactly the same processing as we have in the output processing. So what are the same filters and the same tool. Audio inputs. We have 4 analog inputs, 4 digital inputs, which are Dante receivers, a generator, and a player. Okay. We click on I/O setup, and here we have the inputs. We decide if it's stereo or mono. We click on a stereo, and then these are the channels. And we can set up the digital gain and the level in the input. Okay. What about Dante? Here we have the Dante signals as well in the same place. Okay. And the Dante transmitters are in the digital output setup. Okay. And we also decide here if they are mono or stereo. Dante is included in VIDA series. It's not an option. It's already included from factory. Okay. And I want to insist that you cannot create an independent mix. Dante take an already existing signal, but this is a very flexible tool. If we see, for example, we will, let me explain you this case, okay? And for the Dante transmitters, here we have different selections, different switches. Let's go deeper into this. Okay, for example, digital output 1 is, in this case, we have assigned source 1 to this output, okay? And it's post fader. This means that we have source 1 and the fader of source 1 will affect to this digital output, okay? if we have digital or the other way around, if we have amplified output 1 assigned to digital output 2, okay, its post fader, it will affect as well. This fader of the output will affect to this digital output. In this case, we have assigned amplified output 1 as well, but pre-fader, okay, but post DSP. This means that we get the signal from here, but this fader that we have for the level of the output will not affect to this signal, okay, but it will be post DSP. If we want pre-DSP, okay, we can just click on the switch and we will get the signal. In this case, it's auxiliary output 2. We get the signal just after the matrix without no processing, with no processing, okay? So as you see, there's a lot of flexibility. You can pick up the signal where you want, okay? And you can decide if the fader affects or not to your digital signal. The routing outside of the device is made as usual with Dante controller, and you can have all the information in the Audinate website. Okay, let's go for the example. I was in a beach club last weekend that was not raining, and I was thinking about the example, and I said, okay, I will take this place as an example. Okay, there was a bar, there was a restaurant in the same place, and a terrace. Okay, the restaurant, the terrace were the same music, was chill out music. Okay, and let's think that they had an external player, and there was a DJ that always come to have the big party, okay? Usually in the bar, but they want to have it also in the restaurant or the terrace. Okay, let's see. Let's think that we have the external player, in mono, okay, and have a DJ with two stereo, one stereo signal, 2 channels, okay. And here in the bar, we can have 4 cabinets, 4 Arcis 110, 10-inch boxes, okay. And in the restaurant and the terrace, we have 10 eMotus 8 in the restaurant and 10 eMotus 5 in the terrace, okay. Okay, here in the inputs connection, we will have analog input 1, and here analog input 3 and 4. Okay, we'll have an internal player as a backup. And here we have 2 channels, okay, that go at low impedance, 4 ohms, because there are 2 boxes per channel. And these are high impedance, okay. These are the levels, the power you need for each and every cabinet. Okay, that's let's say an easy example. Okay, maybe I should move myself so you can see 30 watts, 16 watts at 100 line. Okay, this is per box, so we will imagine that they go at maximum wattage, okay, in the installation. Okay, so let's cover this step by step, okay? And let me now, where is it? Here, okay? Get into vida.ecler.com, okay? And we are here, okay? This is in Spanish. Let me change into English, okay? You will have this message, because this message is advising us that is in sleep mode, because there are no signals, okay? There are no signals because this is a simulation. So you just say, okay, keep on sleep mode, and you just keep on working. Okay, language, and we say English. That's it. Okay. So now I have my device in sleep mode. And the first thing is adjust the output mode, the switch. Okay. So here will be 4 ohm, 4 ohm for the first two. Okay, here this in the simulator is made in here, but in real life you should go to the back of the unit and set up the switches, and to 100-volt line. Okay. Name the input, sorry. Okay, external player, DJ L and DJ R. Okay, we go to the inputs setup. Okay, here, this is made just to configure the device from the top down. Okay, so here we have DJ L, DJ R. Okay, and no, this was, let's leave it like it was. Two. The DJ was in input 3 and 4. DJ L and DJ R. DJ R. Okay. So, and we select stereo for the DJ. Okay. Next step, we name the sources. So we have source 1 and source 2 here, two sources. Okay, source 1, it will be the background music. See, this was external player. I made a mistake, external player. Okay, external player in the inputs. Here, external player. Okay, it's the external player, and we will say it's background music. Okay, and here we have the DJ. We'll call DJ. Okay, that's it. Two sources, and assign inputs to sources, which I already made. Okay, and I want the player as a backup, so I will change this switch. So I'm working in backup mode, and the internal player will be getting in if the external player goes down. Okay, goes below minus 40 dBs during, let's say, 5 minutes, for example. Okay, so we have this already configured. And now let's go for the outputs. Okay. For the outputs, we have the bar, restaurant, terrace. Okay. Bar, apply. This will be the right channel. Apply the restaurant. Okay. And the terrace. Fine. We can assign colors to each channel if we want. We can assign, let's make something colorful. Well, these are both the bar, so let's use the same color. And let's use this blue and violet, for example. Okay. So, what else? I will just select stereo mode, and here it says something that I will make clear, that it says that related events, okay, the events of the out, this means output 1, so the events of output 1 will remain with the stereo couple configured as the event output. the related events of the event output, so related events to output 2 in this case, will remain with null out configured as event output. That is, just if we want to go to events, we have not deeply seen, but by default, we have these events. We have the volume knobs in the front panel assigned to each and every output. The first knob is assigned to the first output channel of the first amplified channel, okay? So now if I switch to stereo, this knob will control output 1 and 2, okay? And what it's advising us is that the volume knob, the second one, is not pointing to anywhere because now is knob 1 taking care of channel 2, okay? That's the advice. Okay, so we have this. Check events. We have checked already events. And we adjust Versa power. Okay, in this case, I made the maths very easy. We have Versa power. Here, I click on calculate and assign 600 watts. Okay, for channel 1, 600 watts for channel 2. For channel 3 at high impedance, we see 600 watts as well, and in terras we have 300. Okay, if I exceed the value, I will get advice. I cannot exceed the maximum power the device has. Okay, so in this case it's 300, and I have an available power, extra power of 300. Okay, apply, and this is applied in Versa power. Okay. The outputs processing, we can get into the outputs, and for example, here in the bar, okay, we can activate the parametric EQ and assign, for example, R keys 110. Okay, this is the settings, the recommended settings for R keys 110. You can change these if you want. If you are not feeling it's not sounding good for you, you can change it directly in the graph if you want. Okay. So we already have this, but we have some people here that want to interact with the device. So we have in the bar, we have Ben that wants to change the volume, select the source, and have the EQ because he has a very good taste on music. Okay, we have Ron, which is responsible for the restaurant and the terrace, but it's not the cook, but I couldn't find an icon more adequate. So Ron takes care of the volume and the selection of the source, but he was just one control for both. He doesn't want to many controls, just these two, and that's it. And then we have Dan, which is the director, okay? And he wants to take control for the same as Ben and Ron, and he wants even control of the volume of the terrace because some neighbors have complained about it. So let's make these user control panels. Okay. Let's create first the users. Okay. We go here to our. Okay. We can just, if you feel that you need to zoom out, here you have. Now I feel like that. You have you can just adjust the view. Okay. Okay. So let's create the users. Let's not put any password, just create the users, then Ben and Ron. Ron. Okay. And then we create the panels. Okay. Let's create the first panel would be the bar. And we want volume, selection of the source, and EQ. and it will be assigned to Ben. Okay, let's go there and we say, okay, let's add a new panel, which is the bar. He doesn't want to manage the player or just, use the player or load any preset. And we assign it to Ben, which is the barman. Okay, we apply this. We have created a panel without any control, and now we are adding controls. Okay, bar, and the target would be output 1 and 2. We want him to select sources, but not 3 and 4, that there's nothing in there, just background music and DJ. And we want him to use the graphic EQ. Can apply, and that's it. Very easy, very fast. Okay. Let's make the one for Ron. But Ron is one control for 2 different outputs. Okay, so we have to create a group. If we go to group section, you find here 3 tabs: local groups, general volume, and net groups. In this case, we will use local groups. And for example, we will use this, the first one, the first local group, as restaurant plus terrace. Okay, and we will assign these two signals. Yeah. So this control will affect to these 2 signals. Okay. This is a local group, which means local means inside the device. We also have net groups that we can have a slider controlling different devices or different signals inside a device and different devices. So this slider can control different signals, but this is not the case. We have just one device. And just here in general volume, we have the, it's like a local group, but only of the amplified outputs. Okay, but we are using just this local group in this case. Okay, I have created the group, and now I will create the control. So I go to panels, add panel, and restaurant and plus terrace. Okay, no player, no presets is assigned to Ron. Okay, and I add a control, restaurant plus terrace. Okay, and I said I want to use this local group. Okay, again, just 2 sources and no graphic EQ for him. Okay, that's it. So we have done once a lot of controls. Okay, bar, restaurant, terrace, and the terrace only volume for the terrace. Okay, so we can just, well, we can start with one that is already made. For example, this one, and we say, okay, this is the director, or let's say all. Okay, and we assign it to Dan, who is the director. Okay, great. We have this control of the bar. We will add the other one, restaurant and terrace, restaurant plus terrace. Okay, and we'll have, maybe he wants also the EQ. Well, we can add it. And at the end, he wants the terrace as well, independently. So, but just volume. So terrace and just volume, and that's it. So now we have created the different controls for the different places. So we can just allow them to control whatever they want. Okay. At the end, remember, just let me change myself. Okay. We have a backup signal, which is the player. You have to put an SD card in the player. Okay, you will put an SD card and create a browse through the SD card and create a playlist, and just click on play, and just the repeat mode would be infinite, so it's always playing just as a backup, just in case the external player fails. So we have created these three panels, and that's it.